Hello, my name's Grant, and the purpose of this course is to introduce you to ways in which you can put together an elevator speech. That is to say, how to put together a convincing, coherent, and self-expressive presentation of yourself for a variety of different audiences. And so what we're going to talk about in these 5 sessions are various ways that you can approach the question of this self-presentation so that not only do you say what you want to say, but you also say it in a way that is natural, or as natural as possible, to you in English. So this first session is going to be about the tasks of self-description. That is to say, we're going to talk a little bit about language and culture and psychology as part of the overall background, if you will, to self-presentation in another language. So, this course, first of all, is meant for Finnish-speaking entrepreneurs who have to present themselves and their business to an English-speaking audience in a variety of settings. Now, I want you to know that because everybody's different, there's really no one-size-fits-all approach to self-presentation that I can give you. However, I think that it's more about thinking about your own experience with English and how that experience with English has shaped how you approach the task of talking about yourself in English. I've got a lot of years of experience in this country in working as an English language trainer. And in my experience, many native Finnish speakers who have to speak in English encounter 2 challenges to speaking English with self-confidence. The first is having learned English in a school context in which the way they learn English is heavily grammar and mistake-oriented. And second, a cultural reticence, if you will, a hesitation about speaking unless one has something important to say. So first of all, let's look at this common approach, I think, to teaching and learning English in Finnish schools. It's a grammar-heavy approach in my experience, as I've talked with many of my students, and it's also a mistake-oriented approach. And what I mean by that is that the Finnish English instruction here is great as far as getting the points of grammar into your head. When I work with people here, I find that by and large, in the vast majority of cases, people have a really good command of the grammar. However, because of a mistake-oriented approach to learning English, they're often hesitant to speak. Because nobody wants to make a mistake, of course, right? And I understand this in my own experience here trying to speak Finnish. And it's hard enough, especially if you're a person like me who tends to be a perfectionist when it comes to speaking. Nobody likes to make a mistake, especially in front of others. Now, what this means, however, in practice, is that you can also trust yourself because your grammar is like deeply embedded in your head. And so actually what happens is you almost have a gut feeling, having learned so much grammar, about what the right word or the right preposition or the right phrase is. You've learned so much grammar already that it's there. And so what I often say to my students is, hey, you can just trust your gut. You can relax a little bit and use the first word or expression or preposition that comes to mind. And in the majority of cases, it's going to be right. That takes time to trust yourself, of course, and I do it in Finnish too. And I kick myself actually when I say, did I say that right? And the person says to me, well, you should have said X. And I think, I was going to say X, but I didn't do it because I thought it might not be right. So you can learn to trust yourself about that. And then the second thing is a cultural reticence to speak. And what I mean by that is, in my experience here, I've learned that in Finnish culture, there's a kind of built-in reticence, a hesitation about speaking unless one feels that somebody has something important to say. Now, combined with this, in my view, very laudable emphasis in Finnish culture on modesty about oneself, what this also means is that often native Finnish speakers who have to speak about themselves in English have to come to terms with two major values in their culture. That is to say, values that they've grown up with and are really part of themselves. You know, we all have these ways of looking at the world and ourselves that we get from just living in the cultures we grow up in. So, what I mean to say here is that even though you need to be able to recognize these things, at the same time, I'm not asking or suggesting that you not sound like yourself or not be who you are. That is to say, what this course is about in part is learning how to find your own voice in English. Some people I find have a natural gift for that. They just jump right in and they sound extremely natural in English. I don't know how they do it, to be honest with you. It always amazes me. And I have to say that when I speak Finnish, sometimes my friends say, "Stop speaking Finnish, Grant, you don't sound like yourself." And I think that's an understandable thing. It takes a while to find your own voice sometimes in another language. So, in terms of talking about yourself, learning how to be comfortable with that, as well as finding your own voice, with both of those things, I hope that you'll find that this course is for you in helping you come to terms with these things and developing your own way of speaking that will serve you best. And so now, the next two sessions are going to focus on the tasks of describing yourself and talking about your vision, your passion, your goals for your business. And the final two sessions will focus on putting it all together then in a self-presentation that works for you. And then we've got two tasks as well for this session that I'd like to ask you to do. Actually, one task, excuse me. The first task is, how did you learn English in school? And how did it affect your approach to speaking English? Did you learn using the approach discussed in this session or by other means? Please write down the positive and negative sides of the way that you learned English. Second, ask yourself, how have these positive and negative sides of the way you learned English influenced the way you feel about speaking English, especially to people you don't know? And lastly, how, if at all, have the cultural values of self-modesty and reticence to speak unless one has something important to say influenced the way you feel, how you feel, about talking about yourself in English? Thank you, and see you in the next session.